So hello there, I'm out here, a beautiful sunny morning here in Nokomis. Today in this video, I want to take a few minutes to talk about the sun and cholesterol and heart disease, which is still the #1 killer worldwide, and how important it is to get out in the sun, but not for the reasons you've heard, such as vitamin D synthesis or because, obviously, being out in the sun makes you happy, makes you smile. At least it does for me, and I know it does for you too. In chapter 13 of my book, I challenge the existing dogma regarding the dangers of cholesterol, specifically elevated LDL, which, by the way, you know by now if you've read my book, LDL and cholesterol aren't even the same thing. So it's my opinion that we've been deceived by some in the medical community and pharmaceutical companies, perhaps to protect their own financial gain from the sale of statins, and led astray as to the real causes of heart disease. So if you read that chapter on cholesterol, you might be asking yourself the question, if elevated cholesterol levels aren't the evil we've been told, why is heart disease still the #1 cause of deaths worldwide? Listen, the process of heart disease is a complex one. We know that. There's certainly a lot to talk about. But as time goes on, the science that's emerging is showing us that one key factor, perhaps the key factor and primary cause, is blood clots. That is, there's an increasing risk of clotting as the inside lining of our blood vessels becomes damaged from oxidative stress or oxidation. That comes from a whole host of sources, things like pollution in the air, elevated blood sugar, and smoking, which I'm sure doesn't come as a surprise. So maybe you're asking the question, what's oxidation? I think of it as essentially what rusting is. Now, in addition to smoking and air pollution and excess blood glucose or sugar in the blood, there's those pesky vegetable seed oils I've written about in the book. And if you recall, there's various times when I talk about how dangerous these vegetable oils are that are typically used in cooking and in food processing. Because of their double bonds, these seed oils are really prone to oxidation, even without cooking, and often within days. They're just bad for your health, bad news for your vascular health in particular. So what can we do to improve the health of our arteries and reduce oxidative stress and reduce our risk of heart disease? Well, listen, besides the obvious things like avoiding pollution when you can, not smoking, cutting out or cutting back on junk food and your consumption of sugar and seed oils, you can get out in the sun more. Why would that help, you might be asking? Well, here's the point. It has to do with a gas called nitric oxide, which opens up your blood vessels. It also lowers blood pressure, improves insulin sensitivity, and lowers those blood sugar levels. There's so much to talk about when it comes to nitric oxide, but for now, suffice to say, it's incredibly important for your health. It might well be the most important molecule for your cardiovascular health. There's multiple scientific studies that show there's lots of nitric oxide stored in your skin. And sun exposure helps the body to synthesize nitric oxide and release it. It's funny, there's one 20-year study done in Sweden that was published in the Journal of Medicine in 2016 that showed non-smokers who avoided the sun had a life expectancy similar to smokers in the highest sun exposure group, indicating that perhaps the avoidance of the sun was a risk factor similar to smoking. Listen, the bottom line is this. We've all been taught to fear the sun because of the risk of skin cancer. I believe this fear has been overblown, that the risk of melanoma far less than the risk of avoiding the sun, and I think the science supports that belief. Getting out in the sun and exposing your eyes and skin to it improves your mood, you feel better, and improves your cognitive function. It's been shown in numerous scientific studies to reduce the risk of some cancers and some other chronic diseases. And as I've shared here, helps your body to synthesize this incredibly important molecule nitric oxide. So let me ask you, why does it feel so good to get out and lie in the sun? It's simple, really. Because it's good for you. That's why.